I said, so we're going to record it. So we're going to talk about the empowerment thing that I sent you, the teacher working conditions. And I'm going to try to share my results from the Google form that I sent out. And it has two main areas on there that I wanted us to look at. And Dorothy, have you been using the Google Meet or have you been using Zoom?
Well, for the coaches meeting,
yes,
with like Dan and Leslie, they use Zoom, but then with the grade level meetings, we use Google Meets.
All right, so let me see if I can share this with you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. Like I said, I'm not a professional at this, even though I've done this like 3 times. Can you see that?
No.
You can't see that? Well, that means I'm not doing it right. All right, let's try.
Miss Worley, have y'all had any hackers with Zoom?
We have another meeting again today too, so I wonder if they'll use Zoom or if they'll use something else. But isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I was in a Zoom meeting for VIP Kid and it was hacked and it was awful.
What?
Really?
Yeah, it was terrible. Like,
what happened?
Yeah, they were saying like really weird things in the chat box, and then they started yelling like, "Shut the bad word up!"
Oh my God!
And then they somehow hacked the leader of the Zoom meeting. They hacked her the ability to be the leader. So then they were the leader, and they were changing the screen to all this crazy stuff. So then I left.
Oh my goodness!
Mm-hmm. It was crazy.
Are you teaching for VIP Kid?
Well, tomorrow's my first lesson.
Yes, that's going to be a lot of people I know do that actually.
I'm excited. Throughout the like training process for it, I'm like, gosh, I feel like I'm going to be so much better with Sherry and Shayla.
Yes, exactly. Because it's just like that.
Yeah.
It really is. You have to be very animated. I had thought about doing it over the summer, but with doing this and having my kid at home, that thing on Facebook about, 2 days into homeschooling and, we have God and spanking back in school. That is so true, because I cannot tell you how many days that she has not got a spanking. So anyway, so I'm just going to read from what it says. And the two main areas, 60, let's see where we got. We had 56% said that teachers didn't play a role in school-wide policies, and we had 68% that said we didn't play. You didn't feel like you played a role in development of school budget, which we really don't. And then 62% also said that a hiring process from teachers, that we didn't have a say in that. So I came up with 2 areas that. Let me see if I can get back to where I was. 2 things that I wanted to talk to Ms. Hodge about. And one was making a hiring committee where we could actually, guys, I'm sorry, I have totally lost you, but hold on. So I wanted to talk to her about a hiring committee, and I need to know your thoughts on that. What do you think about us doing that?
I like that idea. I definitely feel like there needs to be like some kind of outline beforehand where maybe the person that's on the hiring committee, like if it's one person per grade level or one classroom teacher in the school, one enhancement teacher, that kind of thing, maybe where you talk with your mini team and your grade level about what you will be representing and what you will be looking for.
What we did at the middle school when I did my internship with the principal there is we sat, it was a grade level, it was a member from each grade level. It didn't have to be grade level chair. It was whoever the grade level decided should be that. And it was the literacy coach. Of course, this was a literacy math coach, and just like Worley, and somebody from administration. And they had a Google Doc with all these interview questions on it. And it was shared with these members. So as you're interviewing, you're doing a round table thing, and you're asking these questions, you're putting in what they say, and then any comments that you have. Like, if they said, they stayed at this job for 6 months and the person didn't ask them, well, what happened? Then you put in that, well, what do you think happened? And then they would respond to that. That way it's interactive. and it's kind of round table style. I really like that. I feel like we would get more effective teachers that way, because if one person's going in there and interviewing the person, then you only get that person's perspective. You don't get the other group. Worley, what do you think?
Yes, I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think you can ask her. I don't know. The same thing with other school sides, like even Andrew, it was always like a person from the grade level, not the team lead, but it would always be somebody else, and then that way they could go back to the team too and say like, well, this person would really fit us because,
right.
And, and be able to say like, or you know what, I think this person might be really highly qualified, but they might not be the best fit because, and then, because that's really important, is that teamwork and making sure they're going to be a good fit for your team.
I agree. In your school, because, every school culture is different. I can't walk in, Andrew Elementary School culture is way different than what Boone Trail School culture was. And they're totally different. And you want that right fit. You want that person to fit that team and fit that school.
And even like you just said with the school culture, like even the person from the grade level that's in there, or the team that's in there to help interview, can let the interviewee know, like, this is kind of like when I went to the interview at Lafayette, it was like, you stay every day on Tuesdays till 5:30. If you don't want to, this job isn't for you. So there was just things that were told to me at the interview that were super helpful when I was walking into that culture. Like I was able to even feel a little bit more comfortable because I knew more about the school. So it even really helped that person as well.
Expectations and clarifications would be good. Anybody, Whitley, you have anything to say about that?
Well, I've had a chance to sit in on interviews with some people, especially of the dual immersion, and I think it's super important that needs to happen, because you have to work with that person very closely and teams have to work closely. So I think it needs to be implemented in some ways, because that's kind of how, like, I feel like the turnover rate would be less if you had somebody that you could agree with and stay with. That's just my opinion on it. I don't know how to go about it.
My opinion is that we get more effective teachers when a group of us get together and talk about the qualifications and the characteristics of this teacher, versus one person going in and say, hey, we really need somebody to fill this spot like yesterday, and just sticking anybody in there. It causes chaos, and they don't know the best practices. They don't know what's best for the team. It would alleviate some of that turnover. And it's best practices. It's what's best, more effective teaching. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what administrators are supposed to do, is we're supposed to have more effective teachers, because that increases our student achievement level. So what I take away from this is we need to make sure that we all agree that it's a good thing. We need to make sure that our expectations and clarifications are acknowledged, and we need to have some kind of form or some kind of document that is going around, and it will increase teacher effectiveness. Is that correct? Is that good? Yeah. Okay. So my next thing is kind of a totally different situation. So observations are done totally by administration, okay? And research says, excuse me, can I help you? Okay, stop for a second. Research says that most of the time, principals will tell you what you want to hear, okay? They don't give you adequate feedback. And this is just research through North Carolina, through 26 counties throughout the state, that say that teachers say that they don't get adequate feedback from their administration. Most of them are marked in distinguished, or what's the other one?
Proficient?
Just accomplished.
Accomplished.
And accomplished. And they really aren't, just because the principals don't want to have to say, you're not doing this, this, and this, okay? So what I would like to kind of change the observation process and make it where we do more peer observations. So Kelly would go into Whitley's class and observe her. I think it makes it more effective because you're going to see the practices that you're doing really well, just more reflective of what you're doing well and what you need to improve on without it being, being super nervous or do you get where I'm going?
Mhm.
And you'll see what you need to be more, you need to pay more attention to and what the other person's doing. So you'll get more positive feedback and you would be more reflective of what you're doing. So I would like to see the observation, at least the standard observations change just a little, where we don't get, if renewal years, we get 4. Most people get, if you're in standard observation, you get 4. At least 2 of those become peer observations, if not 3. I just think it gives us more reflective. And
Well, I think I think that even I totally agree with what you're saying too, but like when I would do peer observations, well, first I would be more nervous when my peers would come see me, but when I would go do the peer observations, I felt like I got so much more out of it, just because I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like what they're doing is such a great idea. And like
Right.
I just feel like that's so helpful to both the people. Like I really like this idea and I'm going to take it for my classroom, or, I've tried this before and this works for me. So I think that's a great idea. And that's something that we really did try to talk about a lot more this year too. So I think that that's kind of right where we were headed. So that would be perfect.
Okay.
And even with like the principals too, if they see that you're like lacking on something, you're not good at something, then maybe they could suggest, hey, look, you could go into this classroom because they've seen them before, and this is a good person to observe, seeing what you're not doing,
Yeah, that's a
in
good.
a nice way.
Yeah, because I've seen some people that are like so good at that questioning and the prompting, and it's like, gosh, if everybody could see, I mean, that takes time and practice anyway, but if you could see like the impact that it had, maybe more teachers would take the time and the practice to do that. So I think that's really a good point.
Yeah.
I know some of the best things that I've learned from watching other teachers.
Me too, for
Yeah.
sure.
I've not gotten from administrators. I've learned from watching other teachers. And
For
so,
sure. Or other teachers giving me advice.
right, or just
I
going
mean,
in and saying, hey, try this, And I think that mentoring and those peer observations, we get more out of that than we do our principal coming in and sitting in there for 45 minutes.
I agree.
I agree too.
So
And other teachers just like get it. I'm not saying that administration doesn't understand it or doesn't get it, but I don't know.
well, other teachers are more likely to understand the dynamics that are going on in the classroom.
Yeah.
Where being an administrator for any amount of time, you get away from, unless you're doing walkthroughs every day and observations, which principals are supposed to be doing walkthroughs a lot. If you're doing that, then you have a better understanding. But if you're not, then you don't understand the dynamics that go on in the classroom, and other teachers do. Even as being an ESL teacher, I try to be in your classrooms, but I don't, I remember what it was like to the point where, I don't like to overwhelm you with anything because you're already so overwhelmed. But, after you've been out of the classroom, unless you repeatedly go in and try to do things in the classroom, you do forget. You don't know. Well, you do know, but you don't quite understand because it does change from year to year. That's not something that stays the same. And so, what would you say 2 peer observations versus the one that we usually do? Because now you get 4 standard observations plus a peer observation. So
How many?
we get on a standard observation, you get 4 plus a peer observation.
right. The peer observations are only for the beginning teachers, right?
No.
I guess, or if they're renewing. I mean, because you
If
don't.
they're renewing, that's right. You're right.
So I think that we should include peer observation if you're going to do, in everybody. Everybody should do it.
Yeah, even the abbreviated, I really do.
I do too. And then it's not going to be, it doesn't have to be like a long 45-minute. I mean, it can still be like a quick, I just want to see,
I
like
agree.
Celia said, like if there's a strength or weakness, like pair those two teachers up. And I know that Miss Whitley and I talked about that too. Just she was really interested in going to see other teachers in their classrooms, and I think all teachers are.
Oh yeah. It can be very encouraging.
It really can.
Yeah.
It can definitely be very reflective on your practice, what you're doing well and what you're not doing so good. And that's what I really like. So I am going to mention that as well. In this
And
gap,
refreshing.
yeah, in this gap analysis, yeah, like they're doing the same thing I'm doing, so maybe I'm not so bad after all. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I love that feeling.
I know, me too. And our last thing is the budget. So during our survey, we had 68% that said that they didn't feel like they had any say in the school budget. And
Real quick question. This is the one that was from 2 years ago, right? Because the survey results haven't come out for this year.
this is the one from the survey that I'm referring to now is the Google form that I sent out about
Okay.
1st of March. Yeah, these are the results. Sometimes that teacher working conditions, I wanted you to look at that because it has some of the same things.
It does, but that was still from, I think that was still Miss Hodge, and that was still 2 years ago, but it'll be interesting to see when it comes out this year too.
It will be very interesting.
With the budget, I think go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just
It's okay. I just feel like the budget should be more transparent. Like we should have a say, not, certain monies have to be spent a certain way. Title I money has to be spent on certain things. But if we could send out a survey saying, with a disclaimer that says, you may want this and ask for this, and I will try to get this for you, but there's no guarantee that I'll be able to, right? But at least you would be able to list some things that you would personally use in your classroom or want for your classroom, because you're more likely to use a resource that you want for yourself than if somebody just went and bought it for you, right?
I think, and I mean, that's like a huge deal, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think even that's something at PLCs, like we can bring that, like it would be easy enough to have a running list of like, especially because the dual immersion teachers are like, oh, we really could use this. We were able to buy those Scholastic short reads in Spanish because they said that's what they needed and that's what they wanted. So they got all new guided reading books and new short reads in Spanish. So that's something that would be easy enough, like to keep that where Miss Hodge is also looking at it. So when there is any extra money, she can be like, okay, this is what, because this last time there was like a deadline at the end of February. I feel like that was part of Kim's stress too. Because there was a deadline and it was just like, nobody knew what to buy because nobody knew that money was available.
Right. And so that way everybody would have a say in how, the money was not necessarily a say, but what's the word I need?
It's just
Input.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have some
Perhaps.
input in how the money was spent. And like I said, people are more likely to use something if it's something that you need specifically for your classroom than if the media center just went and bought or Bass just went and bought 5 Spiros, with the money. So I think that's a great. So I was thinking about a survey, just sending out a survey at the beginning of next year. Of course, we wouldn't do it this year. I'm fixing to spank my kid, so you may see that in just about 2 seconds.
And mine keeps coming out asking, I need help.
Yeah, well, mine's throwing things at the table next to me because she doesn't want to write the stuff that she needs to write.
And Nicole's got to get a paper today too.
Yeah, but anyway, so I was thinking about sending out a survey at the beginning of next year, and just asking the teachers what they think they would need or want for their classroom, and why, and just that simple information, just coming back and gathering that data in a spreadsheet and giving that to Ms. Hodge, just so she would be able to see if she had funds to come available.
It would be a good idea to have like a running document too, like do that survey.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Document, and then have it like where everybody can just, because I feel like a lot of the times throughout the year it would come up like, oh man, if I had this to live, like it would be much more successful. So even if it was like a running thing where they could add to it.
That's a really good idea. I really like that idea a lot. That was some of the things I was talking about during the hiring process, was having that running thing throughout the interview, so we could just keep adding, comments and things like that. But I like the running document for the budget as well. But those are the 3 things I wanted to cover today. Those are what we were lowest on. Uh, is everybody doing okay? You're safe? Is anybody
Yeah.
close to you had corona?
No,
No.
Just
knock
my
on wood.
You had
my
Cody last year.
neighbors.
Your neighbor?
No,
Celia?
well, my neighbors, my mom's neighbor, her
Oh.
mom just passed away from coronavirus.
Oh no.
Wow.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
how
so
old was she?
she was around my mom's age, but her neighbor's younger. She's a nurse. So she's had a lot of, I mean, it's just been crazy. But my mom's okay. So I've been telling her, just hang in there. Haven't been to see her.
This is scary.
It
Yeah.
is scary. Have
Who
y'all
had
been
Cody
going out?
last year? Who had Cody last year?
Cody?
Yeah, his house burnt down this year. Do you remember?
Yeah, I can't remember who had him.
His grandfather passed away from the coronavirus,
Are
and
you serious?
he's like that was who he was living with. So now I don't know if they even know where he is.
That old lady that brought him to get his packet, was that his grandmother?
Yes. So they were living together, but then I don't know what happened. I don't know if Cody's still there
He
because
passed away from corona.
the grandfather did, and their house just burnt down. It's like, how much can a kid take?
Oh, wow.
It's so sad.
That is really sad. Has everybody been going out? Have you been going out? Like,
I'll go to the grocery store every now and again, but I'm really just trying not to anymore.
Yeah, me too.
I go to the park.
We were without toilet paper for a long time. Like we
Oh,
had it, but
we cannot find toilet paper anywhere. We are down to the last 6 rolls of the house.
We're down to our last row, but this has been the problem the whole time. I've been borrowing from my neighbor, but my husband's working in Wilmington, and I should tell him, he checked there and he said he's bringing some home the next time he comes home. I should tell him to get like all of it because there's like nothing here. I don't get it.
Well, my husband said the guy he talked to said it was like $20 a pack, and he's not paying $20 or $30 for a pack of toilet paper. So we'll see.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
the only reason I go to the grocery store is to get toilet paper, honestly. It's because then it's not there.
And hand soap is like $30.
It is. I know.
It's crazy. I was at the store yesterday and everybody's got on gloves and masks, and I honestly feel kind of weird not having them on myself, but one actually looked like a duck bill, and I was like, wow, but as long as everybody's safe. I don't take the girls with me anymore.
No.
If I go straight there and straight back. But places like Lowe's, and I can understand if you need to be out in the yard and need some things from Lowe's, but you go to Lowe's and it's like, I mean, there's no 6 feet there because it is packed. Like yesterday, and I try to go early in the morning or late, it is packed all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to stay home as much as possible, but it's difficult.
Miss Carol, I do want to tell you that last week, Miss Garcia and I called all our students, and when we talked to Santiago, well, we spoke to his mother, and it was mostly Miss Garcia and Santiago's mom talking in Spanish. But I talked to Santiago a little bit, and he told us that he did have access to Google Classroom. That's what he told us, but we haven't had any interaction with him on Google Classroom.
I have created 3 Google Classrooms about 2 weeks ago, and every Sunday I sit down and upload. I pick a book, I assign them a book in Rise Kids, and I have sent out, how to log into Rise Kids by video on Spanish, because Aubrey, my 12-year-old, she speaks Spanish. I've sent that out and posted that on their emails. I have, and I signed the book. I sent out all the login information. And I load up PDFs from vocabulary to go with that story. And I have 3 different ones for 3 different ages. I have had 4 kids to log in.
Yeah.
And I have been so depressed about it. Last week, I cried,
Yeah.
I started calling them yesterday, 2 of them, and I have to get Aubrey to ask in Spanish to speak to the child.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 that I called yesterday, I just got voicemails. But I wrote down exactly what I wanted Aubrey to say in Spanish, and she went ahead and had it in her brain to do. But I'm gonna try that. But I've emailed all the parents. I've emailed all the kids. And
I just don't know what else to do.
I don't either, but do you know when we can go to school and make packets? I was told packets were only going out every 3 weeks.
Well, we were talking about that in our grade level meetings. She had a principal's meeting yesterday, so I emailed her this morning to see if she could, well, I'm having a coaches meeting, so I'll probably hear some of the updates, but from what Dana said the last time is the hopes are that they are going to pick up packets and they're going to pick up books if that works. I don't know if that's what I think is, I don't know if that's going to really be able to happen, but as of the teachers are all putting what they want to go home in the packets into folders, because Ms. Hodge said it might come down to custodians making the copies and passing them, like, so we can get them mailed in time. Like, we don't know if anybody's going to be able to go to the building or what's going to happen. So maybe we'll know more today after her principal's meeting.
Okay, it's all very depressing and very scary. And I'm so happy that we had this group. And I am working on your classroom data. I really am. I got part of Carol's done yesterday because I was inputting her last little bit, and I'll have that to you by tomorrow. Just what little bit we have. I think we have maybe 3 tests from each group, so we'll have to work with that. We have what we have. But anyway, I really appreciate all of you. This should be our last one. I might hit you up next semester just because, you know, we work so good together. But I really love the input, and I love that you're willing to, you know, help me, help the school. And I guess I'll see you at 1:15.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Let me see how I can leave.